Okay. Going to call this meeting to order. Today is Tuesday. It's all right. Take your time. Sorry about that. You ready? I should have asked that first.
Nope.
Today's Tuesday, September 16th, 6 p.m. This meeting is called to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In just a moment of silence to reflect on our responsibilities as selectmen. And although 9/11 is past, if we can take a minute just to reflect on the women and men who had given their lives and our servicemen. Okay. In accordance to Massachusetts General Law, Section 30A 20E, I need to ask at this time if anybody else is recording the meeting other than LCAT and the Board of Selectmen.
Chris Goodrow with a reminder.
Okay, thank you. All right, first is a complaint update.
Yeah. I just want to say, on a complaint we had from a taxpayer the last time, on Angela Thorpe, I would like to apologize to all the directors of the departments that are under the direction of the Select Board. I, Billy Gorman, made a big mistake when I voted in a chairperson to the current board. Because the Angela Thorpe that sits here now is not the Angela Thorpe I know before she was chairman. I made the mistake, so I'll correct the mistake tonight. The complaint was made by Mr. Stites. And some of the complaints I have here, one was Countryside Store, was a misuse of position. I looked into that myself, and I talked to the young man that was involved. I talked to the manager, and on camera, Ms. Thorpe said she was not there. These two people said she was there. The Bay State Hospital, I was with Ms. Thorpe when she flashed the badge here. The animal control officer called my house and had a complaint about Angela wanting her to get her some type of a discount for her cat at the animal hospital. This board has been running up and down, up and down. We can't get nothing done here because of what's going on. So I'm going to change that tonight. We had green ID cards for the plumber electricians in June. They've been wanting these cards. They just got the cards. Some of them are going to be outdated in October already. Ms. Thorpe took them home to scrutinize them. For what reason, I have no idea. But she had them for approximately 2.5 weeks. We got delay in interviews causing directors undue stress in running their departments. We're trying to delay interviews at the senior center for the dispatch job. It's a grant-funded $10 an hour job, and we interviewed 9 people, and we got it down to 1 person. But we can't have this going on. Everything is procrastinated with Ms. Thorpe. She sticks her nose in my liaison assignments instead of taking care of the assignments she was directed to. And some of those people say they never saw her up there. She's delaying the select board from getting things done in a timely manner. We keep putting things off. We keep putting things to the next meeting. It's got to come to an end. I had a laptop for the health agent. I've had 4 health agents in here, and I just got a laptop for this one right now because Ms. Thorpe had the thing and didn't give it to me 4 people ago. We almost lost a grant in the senior center because Ms. Thorpe didn't want to sign the grant. She wanted to read it first. and you know how hard it is to get grants. And so we almost lost it. She got abuse of her power. Like I said, the three I know about are Countryside Store, Bay State Hospital, Animal Control Officer. There were two more. I can't prove that she did these, but there were supposedly two more. And the police chief I talked to, and he seems to know about one of them. There was an interview for, Ms. Thorpe talked to a person at the clerk's office. Well, that job was up in the clerk's office, and you have to do an in-house before you can go out of house. There was one person that applied for the job. So that person would get the job. But I went to Tom Florence to make sure he did the thing the right way, which he did do it the right way. Ms. Thorpe wanted to talk to this person for some unknown reason.
Because I'm the liaison.
So I advised the young lady she has a right to have union representation there. Well, I was gone to North Carolina for my grandson, so while I was gone, this all happened. She asked Tom Florence to come down and see her. Tom came down and saw her. She told Tom, I want to talk to the young lady. He says, she's got the job. It's an in-house job. She said, all I want to do is chit-chat with him. So Tom had to let the lady come down, and she didn't want the union rep coming with her. So what happened is the young lady came down here, and Miss Thorpe interviewed her. For what reason, I don't know, and asked her questions. For one thing, if you think something's wrong, you got a right, being a union person, to have a union representation with you. And she didn't allow the young lady to have union representation with her. And why she wanted to interview this lady, the lady had the job. She's the only one that applied for it, in-house. So what I'm going to do tonight, I just wanted to tell you some of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I think it's getting out of hand. We can't get nothing done here. The directors are having all kinds of problems. We had the rec director, he's been all summer down there in chaos because he has no help. You know, we gotta put it to an end. So what I'm want to do tonight, I'd like to make a motion, I entertain a motion to immediately reinstate Paul Federici to the chair of the select board.
I'll move that for purposes of discussion, but you'll have to second it, or someone will have to second it.
I'll second it.
Okay. Obviously, this is a tough situation. Unfortunately, I've been through this before in a much more serious charges with someone else on the board, and everyone remembers my response then, which is a person's innocent until proven guilty. So I know I understand there's investigations going on, so I don't want to be the one to prove to be saying that this was done until it's actually been proven. However, I do know that I've been spoken to by a lot of people, and there has been a lot of, for lack of a better word, it seems like there's a crisis of confidence with our board, between department heads, between employees, between townspeople. And something has to be done, be it temporary or whatever, just to regain the trust of the townspeople in us. So that's the reason why I was making the motion on your motion, or moving your motion.
Is there any further discussion?
Oh, yes, certainly there is a discussion, but certainly you're having these investigated, and I do believe that you will find that these charges are false. With regards to when I was at Bay State, I used my ID as my badge's identification. So anyway, I'm sure that, and I'm confident that all of these things will be proven untrue. With regards to the there's several things that you have said that are incorrect. But I certainly will take the time to draft a notice and get back to you. So
No,
there,
I don't want you getting back to me, Angela, because that's your favorite thing. You're always gonna get back.
excuse me, I have a right to have.
I took this selectman's job to try to get something done here.
Absolutely.
We cannot get nothing done because you think you're a mayor here instead of a
No.
selectman.
As
You
a
are
matter of fact,
only the
Billy,
chairman. Let me finish talking. I
Well,
get the floor right now.
you've been talking quite a bit here,
Right,
Billy.
and I'm gonna talk some more
Well,
too, Angela, okay?
You're out of
Okay?
order, Billy.
No, I'm
You're
not.
out of order,
I
Selectman
got the
Gorman.
floor.
No, you don't.
got the floor.
I have not given you that
Well,
floor.
go ahead. You have the floor, and then
I
I'll
have
have
the
the last
floor,
say.
and well, I don't know about that either. But with regards to the interviewing process, you did interview 9 people. You came back here to this board, and we voted to interview 3 people as a finalist. And then we all voted on that, and we were to hold the interviews today. You did not say to us that there was one person. Had you known that, if we had known that there was one person, we would have taken the recommendation of Carolyn Brennan, the director. With regards to the ID cards, they were not scrutinized. They were taken home to be signed because there was quite a few of them to be signed. With regards, and some of
It
the...
took you a
dates-
long time, since
No,
June?
there were some of the dates, and no, we didn't vote on it in June, Billy. You go back and look at the notes. We did not vote on our committees until probably late July. Now, back to the animal control officer with regards to my cat. I asked for a discount for the cat because it was an abandoned cat. It had nothing to do with my position as Board of Selectmen. Sometimes when a cat is abandoned, you do get a discount from some of the hospitals because you're taking it in as a rescue. That had nothing to do with it. Furthermore, with regards to sticking noses into assignments, sir, I would say that you are guilty of the same thing. The clerk is my liaison.
No, it
that was
isn't.
none of your business.
No, it isn't, Angela.
Yes, I think you need to go back and
You're a
look
good
at that.
talker, but that's
No,
all you are.
No,
That's all you are, is
I
a
will not
talker.
take your insults, Mr. Selectman.
Because a
Gorman.
lot of things you're saying you're
Selectman
lying
Gorman,
about.
No, I'm not, and
I'm telling
I
you right
beg
to your
differ
face,
with you.
in front of these people,
then-
you are
then-
lying.
Then you're lying,
Could we have
sir.
a little bit of
That's right.
professionalism between
And when I
both
went
of
to
you?
the
No.
hospital with you, you showed a badge. I'm not blind.
And I will show you
You don't have
exactly
to
that
show
my
me nothing.
ID is
The
with
people
my
don't want to hear
badge.
the baloney.
No. Here is my badge,
right.
No,
and there is my
Well, it's his
ID.
motion.
That's what you saw.
it's his motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
The motion passed on the motion. The motion passed.
In that
I
case,
I prefer to check with council to
Paul.
see if this is a legal motion
I believe it
before
is,
it goes
but,
into
okay.
effect, please. So,
Do you know when he's coming in?
Mr. Punderson, you are not appreciated. Okay,
Point of order.
point of order.
The motion was made, seconded, and voted upon.
Then I make
Why is
a,
not-
then I make a motion that we hold off until, to change, and
In a perfect world, we'd have the town attorney here, just to verify this.
until we can verify.
Well, I
Well-
talked to the
Motion was
town
made.
attorney.
By the,
Board, or the,
the church, the current chair, all right, to stay the motion
Right.
until the town attorney is here. Nobody seconded that, and nobody voted on it.
Okay, would
As
anybody
far as
second it?
I know right now, okay, Mr. Federici is chairman.
Okay, so
You
would you
can't
second
make a
it?
motion without it being seconded and authorized by the board.
So Paul, would you second it?
I think I would just as soon proceed with the change, and then if he comes in and says it's not warranted, I'll be happy to step down.
Okay,
So,
that's fine.
now, I'd like to make a motion for a 5-minute recess, so we can reorganize. So moved.
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second on necessity. All in favor?
Aye.
We are back in session. Our 6:05 appointment, which we're running a few minutes late, is Anthony Gentile, our Emergency Management Director. There you are. I knew you were sitting there a minute ago. A special guest there.
I'm the deputy director.
Yes. I like prefer special guest. You are here
I am here.
because you put together a proposed notification protocol regarding different incidences in the town that may.
Does everybody, the board have a copy of it, or?
Yes.
Okay, well, I made copies then for no reason, but that's okay. I did put a notification together. Brian and I worked on it together. We were brainstorming about a month ago. Different incidents that happen in town that have the potential to become larger in nature. We believe that the emergency management office should be notified of them. 90% of the time, we'll already know what's going on because we monitor town public safety agencies, but just that last 10% when either I'm asleep, Brian's asleep, we're in Enfield or what have you, just have somebody give us a call when there's one of these incidents on the protocol here.
Okay, and obviously, once those incidences happen, you have the other protocol to notify all the parties that have to
Right.
be notified.
Yeah, this is just not, we're gonna not step on toes,
I was
go,
just gonna say,
yeah,
I know
run
you use that
anywhere.
terminology in the
Just in
email.
case, yeah, if like a power outage for 250 people, then the whole town goes. The deputy and I already know what's going on. We can already talk to each other and already have a plan of attack.
Okay, well, that's great. That's a great idea as far as being proactive. you
And
know.
then it'll get modified, add stuff, delete incidents, justify it a little bit, but
Okay,
yeah, I
great, great. Well, thank you.
We did go out last month for the gas leak on Lee Street.
yes.
Which one? Oh, I was gonna say gas leak. There was, what, 3 on Elm Street and 1 on Lee Street? So,
The first one on Elm Street was large.
Yeah.
The other two were very
Mhm.
minor. And the one on Lee Street was moderate. There was no evacuations or anything of neighboring houses, but the Elm Street one there was.
mhm.
So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, like I said, it's good to have a plan. You hope that, I mean, looking at that list, it's, I mean, for lack of a better word, it's scary, you know?
Yeah.
The types of
yes.
incidences you have listed there, and it's nice to know that we've got an emergency response team that's ready to handle anything like that, and that can,
And between the different plans that the Emergency Planning Committee and Emergency Management deal with, we have a lot of resources that
Mhm.
are already figured out with contacts and contact numbers.
okay. Great. Well, once again, thank you for your hard work, and
thank you.
nothing personal, but we hope we never have to use this.
We hope not to, or we hope that same thing.
Okay, all right.
We didn't do enough in 2011.
Yeah, I know it.
Thanks.
I know, there's a trial by,
Thanks,
you can't say
Tony.
fire, you gotta say trial by snow.
We did a good
Okay.
job.
Thanks, Brian.
We did a good job in
Thanks, Tony.
2011.
Yes. All right. Our next appointment is our town clerk, treasurer, collector, Tom Florence. Okay, how are you doing? We've got a couple items here, actually.
Yes.
3 of them. The first one is your clerk's office position.
Right.
Which I believe we had discussed previously, and it was an in-house, it was a position that was posted in-house, and you only had one in-house candidate, therefore, based on union requirements,
Right.
that was the person that you were gonna hire, so.
Exactly.
You can
Okay,
proceed or follow up on that if you like.
okay.
Um,
Well, that's great. Again, page 9 of the union contract on the vacancies, I mean, she's a qualified candidate, doing the job for a year with tenure, so really, there's no decision to be made, that's what we have to do. So,
Okay.
and then that leaves her position to be backfilled. So, I'd like to do the same thing with the internal posting process first. You have to post it for 2 weeks and see if we get any internal candidates. And if not, then that's when we open it up to the outside and look externally. So,
Through the chair,
Yes.
what is the pay rate that you're starting this young lady at? What step is it?
it's a grade 6, step 2. I believe
And what was she prior to that?
she was a grade 5, step 2. She started as a grade 5, step 1, and just had an anniversary on August 25th. So for 4 days, she was, or until now, until I get the formal approval,
Okay.
she's still.
So my understanding was that when you do go up to the next grade,
Mhm.
it's usually on the first step. But have you brought that you haven't brought that to the board yet for discussion, have you? Yeah.
Oh, well, it's this, per the union contract, it's already set on where what step she goes to. And at that point, we just contact with the, obviously I can give you guys an email and let you know, but it's.
But when it's a promotion, does it go to the, if I recall the conversation last year, when you do get a promotion, it doesn't automatically go to the next step. Refresh my memory, Paul, if I'm correct.
Does,
Because I thought it just would go to the next grade six,
yeah.
but not to this, automatically to the second step or whatever step they were on previously.
Is she moving to the step, how can I explain this? Is the step that she's moving to the step that's with that job, or is it with, in other words, or is she moving up? Why is she moving up into the new step, or new grade?
Well,
I'll have you explain it.
Right. Linda Gerbert retired. She was a grade 6, step 6. So that's Mary was a grade 5, step 2.
Mm-hmm.
So now that she is going to move into Linda's job, she goes up to the grade 6. And
Right.
per the union contract, it's the parallel. She goes to a step 2. It's all really taken care, it's all signed in the union contract.
Okay.
So we have to follow those guidelines.
Okay.
I think we need to look at that because I'm not sure, because I remember a lengthy conversation in executive session with regards to that. So just check and be sure.
Yeah, if you could. If you could just get us back an email with,
You bet.
okay.
Okay, thanks.
The next item is you're
Yeah.
talking about some fee proposals.
Yes, and always looking to look on the local receipt level, trying to do what we can to be creative to increase our general fund. There's some proposals that I'd like to put forth to you
Mhm.
for consideration. I did this back in the beginning of June, and I'd just like to redeliver it, so to speak, again. We are the only town in Western Mass that does not charge for burial permits. And we haven't, for reasons from some prior select board members, chose not to do it. Again, it's $25 is the fee I'm proposing, and that's what most towns charge. Others charge $35 and up, but I'd like to propose a $25 burial permit fee. And again, we have the assisted living facilities, we have the rehab centers here, and we do have quite a few deaths that occur in our town. And, but the Foresters Funeral Home, they would come in, and again, they're surprised that we don't charge for a burial permit, because they're so used to getting burial permit fees from all the other towns, but we don't. But that's just the way we've been over the years. So I'm proposing a $25 proposed fee for burial permits. And with the average number of deaths in the last 3 years, that would equate to about $8,750. The next one is demand fees. And again, this isn't for the taxpayers, who pay on time. This is just for the few who don't pay. And again, it doesn't kick in until 30 days after the due date, the demand fee. So the taxpayers have the whole regular period plus an additional 30 days before a demand fee is charged. And since 1994, we have charged $5. And my recommendation is to go to $10. And again, based on the averages for motor vehicle and real estate, it could net us an additional $16,800. Okay, in most other towns, charge, some charge $30. The city of Springfield charges $30. And some other towns charge 20 and up, but I'm proposing it just a $10, just an increase of going up $5.
And based on your information here, the last time we raised it was 1987?
1994.
1990, oh, okay, I said,
Oh, did I say 1987?
Yeah.
1987.
yeah,
That's correct.
okay. Yeah, I think 27 years
Yeah,
it's time to do something, I mean,
we sat tight.
it's not a huge increase, but
No.
it does help us, it helps, obviously salaries have gone up, the cost of doing things have gone up, even with technology, so it would behoove us to try to keep in pace with what we're charging to cover what it's costing us, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Dog license collections. A couple years ago, we had the animal control officer at the clerk's office. Again, via the Mass general laws, and the town clerk can send letters out saying you're overdue you haven't paid, you haven't licensed your dog, the animal control officer can't enforce it. So he came in and over a 3-month period collected an additional $8,500. We've got that every year. So instead of collections being 16,000 like they were, they jumped up to 23 to 24,000. That's where they've been. We can even do a lot more to that if, again, based on your approval, we can get him in here to enforce unlicensed dogs and people who have not paid. And then the last one is the municipal lien certificates, or MLCs. When a person sells their home or refinances their home, we charge the attorney's office $25. And I'm recommending that $25 charge go to $50. And that additional $25, based on a 3-year average of 505 municipal lien certificates, could net an additional $12,625. And again, with the demand fees and the MLCs, through the Mass Collector Treasurer Association, we have what's called a listserv, and that question was put out there just recently. So most cities and towns charge $50 and up. A lot of towns and cities charge $50 for residential and $100 to $150 for commercial MLCs. I don't think, personally, I don't think we should do that. I think we should just keep it the same rate across. So with those 4 proposed changes, we're looking at a possibility of over $47,000 on an annual basis of increased local receipt revenue.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board?
Yes, I do. With regards to the burial permit,
Yeah.
the $25, who do you think that the forester is gonna pass that on to?
Well, that's probably what the funeral homes do, is they charge that to the family.
So it's like taxing the dead.
I wouldn't call it that. I mean, it's just, it's a process charge. It's almost like a funeral process charge.
Yeah, but
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
taxing our residents again. Okay, with regards to the others, I don't have an issue with the increase for the demand fees or the municipal liens. With regards to the dog licensing collection fee, you said $8,500. How exactly is that gonna work? Are we paying the dog officer that, or is?
Yeah, it's my understanding the dog officer wants to continue to do it, and it would bring, consistent reoccurring revenue in.
Okay.
But, I mean, it's additional hours and additional time that he has to put forth.
Okay, so-
I think it's my understanding that he's asking for some kind of increase or some kind of stipend to, for his time to bring this additional revenue money in.
Okay, so you're saying that he would bring in $8,500, but what is the cost of doing that? 'Cause I kind of hear you saying there's a cost, but I don't hear what the cost is.
Again, what I understand, and I don't know the specifics, if his stipend goes up, maybe, I don't know how much per year, whatever the difference of the 8,500 minus, whatever.
The cost of
him
collecting
coming
it,
in
yeah.
and do that is. However, say the difference, just throwing numbers out, is 5,000. That's 5,000 that's coming in every year reoccurring. So it's, even though he brings in 5,000 this year, it's after 3 years, that's 15,000.
Okay, so there would be just, from this 8,500, there'd be a private, a designated stipend just for the animal control officer. You're not looking to increase his wages?
No.
Oh,
That's-
okay.
I think
Okay.
that depends on what's worked out with him and, the board.
Okay, so this is tentative, this piece.
Okay.
And-
The 8,500 is tentative, yeah, no, that's okay.
And in theory, following this through, he's collecting outstanding fees, so once the fees are collected, in theory, they won't be outstanding the following year because they'll be on the books. Right now, he's looking at dogs that aren't registered, I would assume, or
Yeah.
dogs that, have
Right.
been lax in getting them registered, so.
Exactly.
So the cost of him going out and finding these dogs should not be an annual cost, it should be he goes out and finds 100 dogs that aren't registered.
Yeah.
So next year, they're gonna be registered, and in theory, they'll pay, so he doesn't have to go out and find them again. So it's
Yeah.
not like it's gonna be an annual cost of him searching these same dogs out. I
That's
would hope.
correct. Recurring costs.
So,
That's
okay.
correct.
So
Okay.
that, therefore, if it was just a stipend, as he's still investigating and bringing in the money, and then once
Right.
he's not doing it, then that stipend would disappear.
Correct.
So maybe
Should,
it could
yeah.
be a percentage of that when you're looking at that later on. Okay,
Okay.
so this would be giving him permission to go and do that.
Yes.
Through the chair, I would ask that, if at all possible, that you could take these separate,
Sure.
because the last four, I don't have an issue, and Selectman Gorman hasn't mentioned that he has any, but I would like to, I think the death burial permit is a bit much.
Well, I mean, in theory,
Yeah.
I mean, I realize
Open
you're.
up for discussion, yes,
Yeah, I
sure.
realize we're thinking of it as, or you're thinking of it as taxing the dead, but it's more a fee. I know, and I'm sure we all have been through many deaths, and I have to, in full disclosure, Frank Forster is a friend of mine, but that bill adds up in a hurry, and this is not, I mean, I realize it's coming from the family, but, and I don't want to suppose that it's coming from insurance money, but still, it's something that the town is providing, and it's something that, in my opinion, the town should be compensated for in some form, just because we're doing the work, for
Which is-
however much or little work that is.
Through the chair,
Mhm.
I would love to be able to vote in the affirmative for the other four, as opposed, and, because I would hate to just for that one, so if you could separate
Okay.
it out.
Oh, yeah, that'd
even
be
though
fine. Yeah, we'll do
it
them
may
all
be
separately.
inevitable,
Mhm.
just,
Okay. As a matter of fact, any comments, questions? Okay. Why don't we start we'll start with the demand fees. We'll start with I guess we don't have to do, both demand fees will go up, so I'll make a motion to accept the increase in the demand fees. It's to $10 or by $10? It's by $10, right?
It's by $5.
By $5 to
Yes.
$10, okay.
$2, right.
So a motion to increase the demand fees to $10.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
The keeping you awake out there? The dog license collections. I would like to make a motion to approve the collection of the outstanding fees for the dog license and instruct our animal control officer to
So
do so.
moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Municipal lien certificates. Once again, I'd like to make a motion to increase that to $50.
so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And as far as the burial permits, we might as well, I will put the motion out there. I know we have some discussion, but I'll put the motion out there and see what happens. Is there a motion to approve the proposed fee of $25 for the burial permit?
I'll move it for discussion.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion?
Well, I just don't, I feel that this is like a tax, and I've said it, a tax on the dead, and I just wouldn't be in favor of it at this time, respectfully.
Okay. Any further discussion?
No,
Okay.
I just had a death in the family, and we had to pay that fee in another town.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Pass 2-1.
Mhm.
All right, Tom. Now you've got the
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I don't think this is open session, I believe, because you're public knowledge, so.
Yeah. Okay, so unless throughout the discussion, you guys think it should go to.
Okay. We actually have our labor attorney here, so
Okay.
if she throws a yellow flag, we'll halt it and go move on.
There you
But
go.
in any event, you were
I-
well, go ahead. Why don't you explain what you're?
Okay. Originally, back when we were doing the budget for annual town meeting, we had to adhere to the 1% guideline. And at that time, we did not have a lot, back in July 25th, 2012, I signed a contractual agreement with the then board of Selectman Driscoll, Selectman Villano, Selectman Federici, to increase my salary the same amount for fiscal year 2013, 14, and 15. In the first 2 years, we're fully funded. That happened this past year, though, because of the 1% guidelines. It came out to being $1,391 short. Okay, And the town accountant said, look at a reserve fund transfer, at the next special town meeting. However, I don't think we have to do that. And I know the Appropriations Committee wants you to adhere to your 1%, basically manage your own budget. And what had happened since then is the aforementioned Linda Gerbert did retire, and moving Mary to that position is going to net us a savings of over $8,000 only because it's such a lower part of the step. So we do have salary money available to us to manage. And what I'm here is to ask for your approval that increase I was not allowed to get because of the 1% guidelines. We can more than make up for it or put it toward that because of the underage. And we also have that part-time position that we're going to backfill that's still open. So we're saving salary dollars there for the moment. So we should have plenty of money to fill what we couldn't fill before the town meeting. Again, at annual town meeting, we didn't know Linda was going to retire. We didn't know this was going to take place. So I'm here to ask for your approval to fund the remaining part of my third year of the contractual agreement.
Any discussion or questions from the board?
Well, everybody was 1%.
Well, the budgets were 1%.
Okay.
Yeah. So this does fall.
And so this will still keep them within that 1%?
Actually, yeah, with the change in
It's even.
in employees, it'll even be less, so.
That's correct.
In that case, I'd like to make a motion to approve the contracted, I would assume approve the contracted increase in the town clerk's salary.
Yep.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks, Tom.
Thank you very much. Appreciate all.
Thank you for your hard work on the election.
Thank you. Get ready for November 4th now.
I know.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks.
I know, I told you I shouldn't bring this up, but I'm gonna need an absentee ballot, which is, those are two bad words in this town, so I don't want to say.
We're not wasting our time. We should reveal that
It's good,
within a couple of weeks.
as long as you're not already filled in, but anyways, that's what.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
All right. Next, let me, if I may bring this to the board, I think we had changed our thought process on this. Originally, we were gonna interview the Council on Aging, the candidates for the dispatcher job, which is a part-time position. And unless I'm mistaken, I think everyone's in agreement that the person that our director has chosen is the person that, well, why don't you come up here? Just, how are you? Okay, so you had gone through, you and Selectman Gorman had gone through 9 candidates for this dispatch position, and you whittled it down to basically 1.
Yes.
Okay. I don't, and I think it's unanimous now from what everyone's said at some point or another that everyone values, our department head's opinions, and the fact that you whittled this down to this person. I think if you are satisfied with them, and you think, I believe it's a she, we think she'll do a good job. I would be willing to, I don't know if you want to give any explanation of the position, and you don't
Sure.
necessarily have to go overboard
Sure.
with the person, but.
It's a part-time, 19 hours, non-union, non-benefited position that's funded by grants.
Mhm.
And it's the dispatcher for two-town trolley. So when we did the ad, we were looking for those who had some experience with customer service, some knowledge of the area, and a sensitivity to working with elders. And Maria, who we are recommending, Bill and I both agreed, she just stood out. One of the benefits is Maria has experience with municipal
Yes, I
customer
noticed
customer
Springfield, I
service.
believe, right?
Yes, yes. And when I called and checked references, they were like, we loved her. And she retired from the position, and because it was a union position, she couldn't stay there part-time.
Oh, okay.
Does not like retirement and has tons of energy, and she was great. She just stood out and really stood out. So we were pretty confident this was the right person for the job.
And I assume you agree? I assume you agree on all the
Yes, I
counts?
do.
Okay. Are there any questions? Any questions?
I had a long talk with Carolyn
Okay.
to understand what had happened.
All right, great. In that case, I'd like to make a motion to approve
Maria Triggs.
Maria Triggs as the new dispatcher at the Council on Aging.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Any discussion?
discussion. I think we also need to vacate the vote that we had taken If you could,
For
I
the
would
interviews?
amend that we vacate the motion,
Yep, previous vote. then.
yeah.
Yeah, I like, well,
The
let's go, okay,
previous
let's do
vote
that one.
too.
I'd like to make a motion to vacate the vote to interview the three finalist candidates for the position.
So moved.
Is there a second? So in other words, we're not voting on, we don't have to interview anybody.
Okay, so moved.
Is there, all in favor?
Aye.
Now, I'd like to make a motion to accept Maria Triggs as the new dispatcher for the Council on Aging.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you.
And thank you very much.
Kelly, welcome. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the open session minutes of June 24th and July 8th of 2014.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
There was just one little correction, and it's
Okay.
already been forwarded
Okay,
to,
great.
and it's just a matter of leaving out a yes.
Okay. I'd like to amend that motion to include the change for, which is that for the 24th or the 8th?
I think it's the 24th.
Okay. With that change, make a motion to approve it with that change.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I'd like to make a motion to approve the executive session minutes of June 24th and July 8th of 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next item is the special town meeting. Nick, we've got the Board of Selectmen articles, and then we'll go through them in order, then for the petitioned articles and the vote to close the warrant. Now, refresh my memory, is tonight the deadline to close the warrant, or do we have more
Yes.
time?
The board had initially thought that this would be the one that you would close it.
Okay.
For practical purposes, if
Mhm.
you absolutely needed to, you could wait one meeting, but this was more on the timeline.
Okay.
Through the chair?
Yep.
There is an article, I attended the school committee meeting. Their article is, Article 8. I was wondering if our board would consider something of that nature for our board as well, because as you know, the elections are held in April, and we're right in the middle of budget process. If we would consider having the year start on July 1st and then on June 30th as well.
Are they still having their elections in April?
Yes,
Okay.
they go with they would go with us. It's just a consideration.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it made sense listening to it.
Come on, you don't like having somebody thrown into the budget process a month and a half before the town meeting? Definitely, I mean, if it's something that you wanted to write up, we obviously
Sure.
could consider it, so.
Okay. And I'll do that.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
then that article will be added to the warrant.
Okay.
That'll be the understanding of the board? Okay. And
Um,
the language, just to report to the board, the language will look a little bit different only because of the way the bylaws are written.
Okay, now as far as petitioned articles,
Mr. Chairman, just a report that we've received another street taking for Wisteria Lane. If Betterly Lane is on there.
okay.
And there was a proposal for maybe either a submission from the board member about I believe Selectman Gorman had one regarding taxes. And I guess a question would be, would that be one that Selectman Gorman wanted to see if the board would accept as a board-sponsored article, at least for purposes of the warrant?
Is that Article 13? The last one, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. I have no problem as far as getting the warrant item on, supporting it, so. getting to that age. So is that something that we have to vote on?
I think the board should make a decision as to whether or not it would be something that they will put on the warrant.
Okay. Is everyone familiar with Article 13, as far as it's written on the,
Is that the exact language that's going to be used?
I do not think so. I think ultimately there would need to be changes made to it. That is the intent.
Because as it is written, I could not be in favor of it, although I am in favor of what the gist of it is.
Mhm.
However, as it is written, I could not vote in favor of it.
yeah, I think these
But
get.
I'd like to see see it tweaked a little bit more.
Yeah, these get hammered out
Yeah.
between town council and everything to get to the final. But, so is there, I guess the question is there a motion to, what would it be, to have the Board of Selectmen approve in some form? I mean, I realize right now it's not in the form you want, but I believe if it doesn't end up in the form you want, we can always, if the board chooses to not present it or to pull it if there's a problem, so.
Or make an amendment on the floor.
Yes, true. So, is there a motion to accept the intent of Article 13 as put forth in a warrant item?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I want a second.
I'll second, out of necessity. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All against?
I'll
All
abstain.
abstain? Okay. All right.
A question?
Yes, sir.
Can you, at the last meeting, the articles proposed by the Board of Selectmen was going to be reviewed before they were going to be, before they're submitted for the special town meeting. Could you brief us on what articles the Board of Selectmen is going to present at the meeting?
Actually, what we got here. Some of them are like placeholders. There's the ones it has in regard to nuisance properties and setting forth a sum of money for that. Let's see. Also, there's a warrant item to fund the animal control officer stipend out of the money that he's collected.
And I have questions on those articles.
Okay.
Before they're put on the town warrant.
Okay. What we usually do, and I know our town attorney isn't here, but we will, we approve them, they get written into their final form, if you will, and then we will go through them again, I believe, and vote on them and vote whether we personally want to, vote personally support them or just support them as a board to be presented, if that makes any sense. So in other words, we can vote to present them as a board, but we don't necessarily have to approve of what we're presenting, I guess, as an individual. So that's where I'm trying to put it. So if you can add anything.
I think where the board is in the process is tonight making final decisions, at least what warrant articles that you would agree to putting on the board. Again, as you said, it doesn't indicate support necessarily for any individual article, which the board has taken that vote as late as the night of the town meeting, at its meeting prior to. What you're doing here is to say, really, in effect, what articles you absolutely don't want to put on the warrant at this time. So it may be a constructive process for the board to go right through these articles and decide what's in and what's out.
Okay.
And then decide, and then at that point, on the 30th, you'll sign the warrant, you'll see the final language as it'll be printed, knowing that, again, you will have an opportunity, or any voter will have an opportunity to stand up if the motion is made and seconded, and then could at that time amend the motion depending on how the debate
Okay.
goes.
Okay. So why don't we do that, because there's not really a tremendous amount of them, so. Article 1 is is to see if the town will vote to raise, appropriate, and transfer a sum of money from available funds to pay for the cleanup of nuisance properties and pass any vote or take any other action relative there too, and I believe we have a dollar amount there. I don't know, the dollar amounts aren't necessarily the final dollar amount, because this,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's supposed to be
It's
5,000.
500 or
Yeah, it's-
5,000?
It's like sort of a
Did 5,000.
okay. So is that something, let's take that one first. I can make a motion to add, yes, sir.
Before you make that motion, I have several questions on that article.
Okay, now, is
Is this
this,
an open meeting? I'm not sure if this is...
well, that's the thing,
appropriate.
is I don't know if, I mean, it's up to the board to present the warrant items, and I think, I may be wrong, but I think your questions should come on the floor at the town meeting. And once again, I may be totally off on that, I don't know.
Well, it may be too late at the town meeting. Okay? And like I say, I don't know if this is an open meeting, but I have several questions about that. And it's not about the intent. It's about the procedure that what this board went through to get this article on the town warrant. How are the homeowners notified of the need to maintain their property? That's my number one question.
Well, when you, and I think Selectman Gorman is the one who's sort of spearheading this, so I'll defer to him, but, and I may be wrong on this, but I think we're dealing with a minority of homeowners and a majority of absentees.
That's not the point.
Okay.
I understand what Selectman Gorman's trying to do. It's very admirable. My problem is the procedure at which we're approaching that. And that's why I asked the question, how were the homeowners notified? Were they notified by letter?
We sent them a letter.
Who's
And give them
we?
30 at the Board of Health.
The Board of Health.
Yep,
So the Board of Health approved the letter?
yep,
Did the town attorney review that letter?
yep.
And it was a legal letter with the town
The
letterhead on it?
attorney's the one who told us how we can go about it.
Okay. All right, very good. I just want to be sure that, now, my last question is that, is I understand what you're doing, and there's only one property left. That's private property. Are you going to get permission to go on that private property to cut that grass?
They got 30 days to respond to us. If they don't respond within 30 days, we have the right to go on there
By law?
by law.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
All right. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to add Article 1 to the warrant?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Discussion. The $5,000 that you're talking about is coming out, is this a transfer from the Board of Health line item to this? Or are we talking about getting money from another source? Because if I understand the appropriations, they were saying that this year it needed to come from the Board of Health's budget. Is that correct?
I can't speak for the Appropriations Committee.
Okay. Is there somebody here from the appropriations that could speak
I am
to
on
that?
that committee, but I can't speak for that committee. I'm not the chair.
You can find that out. You're not sure, you don't know where the money would be coming from?
It came out of the Board of Health this year.
Okay.
This year.
Next year it'll be a revolving.
So
transfer.
is that what we're asking for out of this? Or are we asking for it to become a revolving?
Yep,
Or are we asking for the money to be moved from one line item to another?
no, revolving.
Yeah, because it sort of covers everything, raise, appropriate, and/or transfer, so it's got all the avenues covered. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Article 2 is to see if the town will vote to raise, appropriate, and transfer some money from available funds to fund the animal control officer stipend and pass any vote or take any other action relative thereto. And there's a $9,300 amount there, and I don't know if that's the final dollar amount, but that's the one that's here. I believe the intent of this is the animal control officer has raised significant funds over the past few years from where they were, 3 or 4 years ago. So part of this money, they've been running short of funds for things like uniforms, supplies, and things like that. So instead of nickel and diming it, I believe the intent of this was to get a sum of money over there that the animal control officer and his department, both of the animal control officers in their department, could use to effectively fund their process in the town. So I'll make a motion to add Article 2 to the warrant.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, any discussion?
This is an over 50% or at least a 50% raise. We did make some moves last year to increase the budget for the animal control officer. That kind of, I just think we need to have a little more. So this is going to be in addition to the stipend that we already spoke of when we passed the clerk's recommendations.
I don't think there was a dollar amount. I think that $8,500 in the clerk's recommendation was what he was going to be able to collect. I don't think that was an additional stipend. I wish Tom was still here, but we can actually, we can look into that.
Because we
and,
talked about
yeah.
adding a stipend, so.
Right.
So he's
And this may
getting
be part
this
of it.
plus.
No, I don't think
And I
it's
just
both.
think it needs to be clarified.
Okay. Why don't we, for sake of the fact that it is the night that we're closing these, I'll make a motion that we approve it, and then obviously if there's any changes, we can either amend it, or if we're not happy with it, we can
Yep.
just not act on it or amend it on the floor.
Okay, so moved.
All right.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's see, Article 3, to see if the town will vote to raise, appropriate, and transfer a sum of money from available funds to fund the contract of the Benefits Administration Manager and pass any vote or take any other action relative thereto. Once again, here, I believe we negotiated a contract with the Benefits Manager, keeping in line with the 1% increase. And so therefore, that money has to be, and there is no dollar amount here. I don't think it's a significant dollar amount. I don't think we discussed that, but I don't think it's a significant dollar amount. But we'll have to fill in the dollar amount there. But is there a motion to approve this article to at least get on the warrant?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Any discussion?
Okay, what is to stop any other department head from coming back and asking, because everybody got the 1%.
Right.
So what's to stop any other department head to come back and ask for money on a warrant like this?
Well, they have to, first of all, they have to have like we executed a contract with the benefits administrators.
Right, for 1%.
That's what we're paying, that's what this is funding. So,
Okay.
I think for anyone else to do that, they'd have to get a contract through us. And then they would be able to do it, but I don't think without that they could just arbitrarily request
Just
more funds for their department.
Okay, through the chair, just to be clear.
I'm sorry.
Is this above the 1% that
No.
we already approved?
No,
This is the 1%?
correct.
Sorry to be contradictory, but
Okay.
my understanding is the 1% was already budgeted for in the budget. This is to propose an amount beyond that amount, is what I understand, and
But
is certainly subject for the Board of Selectmen to have discussion about what, if any, amount that would be in a strategy session with regards to non-union negotiations. But the 1% was funded. This is proposing something beyond that, as far as I understand it, and this is being brought forth by Selectman Gorman, so I would ask him to maybe clarify for the board, so I'm not misspeaking.
Okay.
She hasn't had a contract since June, and I guess the past selectmen were supposed to settle this with her on what she was gonna get. She got a contract, but no money was involved,
Well, I thought we did increase, we didn't.
according to,
Can I talk about the increase? We don't know what she's making, so I don't know if it's, as far as the general
But
public.
if you're talking about the economics, that's about what was actually increased in the budget,
Okay.
then I think you can talk about that. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're talking about something that's gonna impact the negotiations of the contract, I think that would be something for executive.
No, I know she was in a few months ago at the budget time, and we did hammer out a contract, and it did have the 1% increase, and
And
that's where I thought we were standing, so I don't know.
And that's through the chair.
Yeah.
Also, there were some programming
Well, yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff also.
Yeah, there's some
that
other
was-
items that we got her to
That were
help her.
substantial, yeah.
Yes.
The
So,
If I may interject, the one thing I would say is there's money that it sounds like was appropriated through the budget to increase line items. If what was negotiated in a contract with her was above what's already been appropriated and budgeted, then you would have to go for an appropriation for that amount. So I guess that's the question you need to answer. Is there money in the budget already, or is this something that has to go to appropriation?
Yeah,
I don't know if you have a...
Because that's a question I have too, as far as the dollar amount and what it's actually gonna be. If we have, I'd like to get details on what it's actually covering. So, in that regard, once again, without leaving this hanging, can we vote to add this warrant?
I would-
Can we vote for a placeholder, Nick, or does it have to be the final approved, even though there's no dollar amounts?
I think the board is voting on any one of these, in a sense, could be considered placeholders if there's no action taken on them at special town meeting.
Okay.
It would be printed,
Right.
but then whether or not the board acts on it or doesn't support it. What the question is here is whether or not the article is going to be in the warrant to begin with.
Okay.
But if this is essentially asking for a raise above and beyond the 1% that was already allocated, then I would think it would be out of order.
I do tend to agree, but I'd like to see, the thing is, I like to get more details on it, and that way, but I hate to see it be taken off. And
Is this something that could wait until our regular town meeting?
I don't think we could wait till May on this, from what I understand, so. Once again, I might suggest putting this in, and then we'll get the details on it, and if it's not something that, that fits with the wishes of the board, then we can deal with it at the meeting, or even, not present it. But once again, at least we put it in there as a placeholder. I'd rather have it in there and not need it than not have it in there and need it, so.
So you're putting it in as a placeholder, and then if it turns out that it is absolutely a raise
Right,
being requested, we will pull it,
right.
because, okay.
Yes, sir.
Are you confusing the 1% budget increase with the 1% salary increase?
No, because we kept some people to the 1% salary increase to
Okay,
fit within their
that's-
budget increase, yeah.
Within the Board of
Yeah,
Selectmen?
that was part of the,
Because I know
whole-
the Appropriations Committee had a 1%
Budget increase.
budget increase.
Yeah, I realize that, yeah.
All right, I
Yeah,
didn't
no,
know if you were
yeah.
confusing that with
No.
salary increase or not.
No, but we had to working within our parameters, that's what
Right.
we stuck with, so. I'd like to make a motion to add Article 3 to the warrant.
So move.
Is there a second? I think we've already done this. I should just vote now, because we
we
seconded
had
for
the- yeah,
discussion.
and we had
All in favor?
discussion.
Aye.
Aye, all right. Article 4, this is to see if the town will vote to raise, appropriate, and/or transfer a sum of money from available funds to fund the contract of the town accountant and pass any vote or take any other action relative thereto. And this is, I've been negotiating with the town accountant, and this is one that's on there, and it falls along the same category as what Tom was saying, Tom Florence, in that our town accountant ended his career with us on September 1st. The new town accountant, God willing, in a signed contract, will start October 1st. There's a very, very minimal increase in the budgeted amount for the new salary. The amount that we save, and Rocco, maybe you can help me on this, the amount that we save in the month that our town accountant isn't here, more than it covers fivefold the increase in this new salary. It was suggested to me by your chairman that I put a warrant item on, even though in theory, when you compare dollars, we don't need it. So I'm just telling you what the big guy said. All right.
If the big guy said it, then...
Okay, and this may be something else that if we find out we don't need it, then we may not use it. But once again, I'd rather have it in there and not need it, so. All right, I'd like to make a motion to add Article 4 to the town warrant, special town warrant.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, I think as far as we go, we're getting back to the last one, which is Article 13, which is to see if the town will vote to freeze the taxes of property owners 70 years of age and older and pass any vote or take any other action relative thereto We just had discussion on this a few minutes ago, and Selectwoman Thorpe would like to see different language, which I'm sure it'll probably end up with. But once again, for the,
Not necessarily different, but
well,
a little more expensive.
yeah. So given that, I would like to make a motion, then this will be the motion, obviously, Nick. I know right now it's sponsored by Selectman Gorman and others. If we pass this, I assume it would be sponsored by the board.
Correct, and likely move up in the order.
Pecking order?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve Article 13 to be on the warrant? Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion, please.
Okay.
Okay. You ready?
Go ahead.
Okay, so do we have to approve this? This is already a petitioned item. It's going to go on there. So do we have to approve this for now?
Whether the board has to approve it or put it on by petition?
Right. It's already going on.
My understanding is that the petition was shy the number of signatures required to put it on to the special town meeting warrant. That's only my discussion with the administrator, but I haven't actually counted the signatures, but that's my understanding. In that case, since it doesn't contain the required statutory minimum number of signatures, in order for it to go on the warrant, it would have to be an article submitted by or sponsored by the Board of Selectmen.
Okay,
Go ahead.
through the chair, can we add language to this at this time before it goes out?
You'll be, I don't mean to, if I may,
Yeah.
you're going to be finalizing the verbiage on these anyways, right? I mean,
Usually that's the intent, that we draft the language for the warrant, for the actual articles to be submitted to the warrant, subject to the approval of the board. So the language that's being submitted, if it's not a petitioned article, can be revised to address what the board wants to do. Generally, since this isn't a petition article, it doesn't apply, but generally, when we receive a petitioned article, because the residents have actually signed and said, this is what we want, there is very little, if any, alteration made to a petitioned article, because you've got residents who signed and said, this is the language we want there. Even if we know the language is not correct or proper, the petition puts us in sort of a difficult situation of going against the directive of the petitioners who submitted it. So you have more flexibility with this article by the board putting it on.
right, so if we propose this warrant item, then we can change the wording before it becomes a final product.
Correct.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Can we add some things now?
I suppose you could, but there may be other changes that are gonna be made before it's a final product, so it might be just as easy to get your proposals to, I assume, to Nick, and then Nick and Attorney Donahue will make the appropriate changes before it becomes a final product. Yes?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sitting here trying to behave, but my question is, the impact of what's being proposed has a huge impact on our town. And is there any way in which you, as a board, would welcome some input from your other boards, from residents, before you made a decision on this article?
Sure.
I mean, it doesn't reference income limits, it just, anybody
Or the
70
length.
gets their taxes frozen. Who's gonna pick up the slack, who's gonna pay for when I turn 70? That sort of thing. So I mean, this is huge. This
Now,
is huge.
when you say huge,
Huge,
do you
both
have,
sides.
well, I know, but do you have, like,
I mean,
dollar
I'm not
amounts?
sure that it's the way it's written, and no offense, Attorney Donahue, I'm not sure it's legal.
Well, he didn't write this, so he doesn't know.
I know. I feel like that something with that big of an impact needs some thought before we put it before the voters, because it's that important to our town.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Bill Johnston from the Board of Assessors, although I'm not speaking for the board. We need to have my impression with this kind of thing, and I've seen it a few times. They had to try to do it in Long Meadow. It's been Sudbury and whatever, and it's generally been found unconstitutional Just like the 61A on the farm was unconstitutional before they passed the constitutional amendment against the rules on assessing everybody on a level tax. My opinion, my current thought is that the Attorney General will just throw this out if it passes, although I would ask the town council to check on that.
You were shaking your head?
Well, just to say that, my understanding is that the petitioned article that the board is considering submitting requests a bylaw to alter the tax impact on residents over 60.
70.
The
Don't
state
get carried away.
constitution doesn't, the home rule amendment to the state constitution doesn't give to cities and towns the authority to alter the tax structure. Cities don't have the, or towns don't have the ability to introduce a new tax or not to implement the tax unless the legislature gives them the authority to do it. So what I would envision that this article would, if it's going to go forward, would end up being is a request at town meeting to authorize the Board of Selectmen to submit to the legislature a request to enact special legislation that allow East Long Meadows Board of Assessors to establish a different tax rate for individuals who would exceed the age of 70. Whatever the specific language is submitted to the legislature.
So in
That's
other
what
words,
happened in Sudbury.
And through the chair. And also, how would that affect 2.5, Proposition 2.5, if it ever came to an override?
Well, depending on what the language is that's approved, but if the language is a cap on a 70-year-old's real estate tax as of 2014, and in 2 years there's a 2.5 cap, it's going to have to be factored into the total value that you're allowed to, I would assume, the total value you can tax to under Proposition 2.5 of the fair market value of the entire property, of the entire community. But, and I don't want to be held to this because I don't know the nuances of it, but you probably lose the ability to gain that difference between what the tax would have been if the freeze hadn't been in place, to say you can't get that, so you lose your 2.5% possibly. Now that could be addressed in the legislation perhaps, but to be honest with you, my experience has been that the state legislature is loath to enact home rule requests of specific individual tax impact that if they don't apply to the entire state. They just have not had a strong history of doing it for individual communities on a request. You can always send it down, but I don't know that there would be a very good chance of this passing. But unless you do it.
so if I've heard this correctly, then this article would have to be amended to basically just to allow the town to approach the state, for lack of a better term, to be able to offer a tax break to persons 70 or over. And nothing, there's nothing that could be done by the town in the special town meeting, except get that permission.
That's my understanding of the law.
Okay, all right.
That's also my understanding of the law, and you should seriously research what happened in Sudbury several years ago on a similar type of thing.
Okay. In light of all that, is there any, do you want to regroup for the spring meeting and pull this, and that way, okay. All right, then we'll just,
Through the chair, there's a
yes.
vote that needs to be, it's been passed.
That's right.
Seconded, so we need.
Okay, all in favor of adding this to the warrant? All opposed?
Aye.
Aye. All right. All right, so that's all the articles that pertain to us. As far as the warrant as it stands, I would like to make a motion, vote to close the town warrant.
Plus the one that I'm putting on.
Okay.
Okay.
With including the one you're putting on.
Okay. So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.